Ronan.
Welcome to Juice in the Morning, episode 69.
Woohoo! 69.
That is the voice of Hannah Craven at Crave Hannah on all social media. Make sure you go and follow her, the official co-host of the Juice in the Morning podcast.
Crave Hannah, no numbers, just Crave Hannah on everything.
And we also have a guest in the studio from the Smugcast, BJ Robbins. Welcome to the show, man. This is the first time.
Yeah, it's awesome. I was home by myself. Family went on vacation, so I saw that. I asked who your guest was. You're like, you know, if you want to come on, and I raced over here to make sure you didn't change your mind.
Yeah, cancels all plans.
Well, apparently, producer Tom has not been feeling very well, so he had lined up a guest, and I wasn't super sure if we were going to have him. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to have you on the show because we were just on. Hannah and I were just on yours. It just hasn't posted yet.
It'll be tomorrow.
So
tonight at midnight.
I'm so excited. I'm staying up late.
That leads me to a question that I had for you guys is, do you listen to your own episodes?
Yeah, we listen to them, and then it's more of a critique than anything. And then and I always I don't like any of them, most of it. I count how many times I say this word or that word, and then like some of the stuff we have wrote that don't go off well.
Yeah.
And it gets frustrating. But I listen to them because I like to see how well the guest does more than anything. Mm-hmm. Well, you can tell whether they're having a good time, whether it's genuine. Because sometimes you'll have people on where you have to force them out. But like when we had you guys on, you guys do it. So we didn't have any topics. We ran with it. But
I loved it.
Yeah, when we have other people on, like Concept, we had Concept on, and some of the other people, we tried to we cater to them more. But we try to do interviews that are totally different. So when we listen to it, I just keep trying to take notes most of the time. Mm-hmm. I know AP listens to them 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And looking for things, looking for sound, looking for what we could do better. I look at it from a writing standpoint more than anything.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I like. When I first started doing it, I didn't listen to any of mine because I was embarrassed by it, and I didn't I would tell my wife to download it, and she would start to play it, and I'd be like, "No, don't play it around me. I want you to listen to it and then talk to me about it." And I was uncomfortable with hearing myself, and then I started to I just was I forced myself to do it and listen, and I think it actually helped me improve kind of steadily, as opposed to just kind of making the same mistakes and saying the ums and the uhs and
the is.
Yeah.
It is. That's what I say.
So on social media, you are at BJ Robbins and at Smugcast Show. On Twitter, and then on Instagram, you guys are at Smugcast_. So who had Smugcast before you guys on Instagram?
When we went through and looked at it, someone had it before, but they haven't done anything with it. It'd been years and years ago, and so when we went on there, now the cool part is when we first started it, we wouldn't pull up first, and now when you go on Smugcast and you look it up even in Google, we're one that we actually pop up now on top.
It's a very original name, too. I think it's good.
And some people thought we got it from Smugcast, which is...
that's the Kevin... It's not Kevin James.
Smith. It's Kevin Smith.
I always want to say Kevin James.
Which is one of my idols.
Yeah.
Is one of my idols. And I didn't even know that he had that podcast named that. And so when you do that, it pops up for that. But when you go to Smugcast and you click on it, and I think it was just some random guys that had it. Mm-hmm. And now when you pick it, we pop up right up the top.
Nice.
And that's weird.
Awesome.
And it's weird to see Smugcast by AP and BJ on Apple Podcasts. And I'm like, wow, that is kind of cool.
It is cool. And whenever I show the fact that I have a podcast to people are like, what? This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
To hear you guys on their device to be able to talk to them.
All these people at work keep going up to me that I've never met before, and they're like, hey, I heard JD and Justin talking in the kitchen. They say you have your own podcast. I'm like, well, I'm a co-host.
Yeah.
And when I went to Muncie, everyone's like, so what's your new job? I keep seeing you doing all this stuff. I'm like,
you're not getting paid.
I'm not getting paid, guys. This is a hobby, but it's still fun.
When we start getting paid, we'll work out contracts
it's
later.
So funny,
Hannah,
though.
okay? I get 90%. I'll give you 10. Okay, we'll keep it.
Sounds like my real job.
We'll keep it along the gender income lines, right?
Yeah.
What is that?
We want this glass. We're just gonna reinforce this glass ceiling.
But yeah, I think that having you guys on, or having you, BJ, on is awesome. We want to get AP in here eventually as well. But one of the things that I wanted to send to the listeners is I'm going to do a giveaway for the Juice in the Morning t-shirts, and Hannah actually created some more stuff.
We're getting bro tanks.
What is it?
A bro tank. We're getting bro tanks, and then we're getting girl tanks.
She talked about snapbacks too.
And we're
I'm
getting
pretty pumped about
snapbacks.
that.
If there's any fuckboys out there who need a new one.
That is awesome.
Yep. We're good. I'm having the samples made. I was supposed to pick them up today, but the guy making them was hungover, so.
Well, that happens to.
That's relatable. I'm like, say no more. Say no more.
But basically, the contest I want to do and a giveaway that I want to do is I have a few shirts left over from my initial order, and I would like to do a iTunes review. So if you write a review that entertains me and makes me laugh, Hannah will also be in the decision making process.
Of course.
But write an iTunes review. Try to make me laugh. Try to make Hannah laugh, and also tell us things that you like or don't like about the podcast. And then I will be picking somebody from that to send them a shirt.
And if they write a bad one, just make sure you read it on air.
Oh yeah, I will read it on
talk
air.
a little shit. Like, you don't have to get ugly, but talk a little.
We read like 3-4 times in a row. And the key point was where the guy's like, if you keep this up, you won't have a podcast. I'm like, podcasts are free. Like, they're not free, but like, no one can cancel us.
Guys, we're not getting paid for this. We're doing it for free.
Unless we talk about blowing up government buildings, then they might shut us down.
They might shut it down.
They might.
But they still may not do it then.
Yeah, if it's entertaining, they're like, oh, these guys are funny.
Yeah. But yeah, so the first topic that Hannah and I talked about for this show, because Hannah this weekend went to college graduation at Ball State.
Ball State.
So I kind of wanted to talk about graduating a little bit. How was your college graduation, Hannah?
Well, it would have been better had I not made it difficult. I stayed out drinking until 6 a.m. Like, I closed down the bars, and there was a party going on above the bars, and I just wanted to tell everyone I was graduating, and they were like, oh my God, keep drinking. And so I'm texting all my friends.
Don't make it to graduation.
I'm like, I need you guys to come wake me up. Like, my door will be unlocked. It will be open. I'll just be, passed out in there. Like, if you don't wake me up, I will not graduate. So all my friends are like crawling in my window in the morning with Starbucks and like pulling me out of bed, and they're the reason I made it. But
they're like the basic ninjas. They're
they
gonna
really
be
are.
like
They've
breaking
got
into
their
your
Uggs
apartment.
and Starbucks and like sunless tanners, and they're like ready to like attack. Like. So they all made it happen, and then the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm sitting next to my friend, and I'm analyzing where the closest trash can is just in case things go south. Like, just trying not to trip.
That sounds like a pretty good college graduation.
Yeah, it was.
The more I'm around her, the more I just like, it's awesome.
I know.
Like, she does all the stuff I want to do, but my body won't allow
Yeah, I
me
was
to do
gonna
it.
say, but your liver is like, hell no.
No, like she's just. We were talking pre-show, and I'm just watching her like a TV show.
That's why she was a great addition to the podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I
didn't actually graduate college. I'm still in the midst of trying to earn my degree. And before anybody judges me, it took my grandfather, I think, 36 years to finish college. So
My dad got kicked out quite a few times.
I just didn't have 7 kids, I think, like my grandfather did. And that's why he had to take time in between. But I do have a pretty good story, I feel like, for my high school graduation, which is in high school, I was like, friends with a lot of people, but there was like, I had a lot of enemies, but then there was a group of people that I was mutual friends with, but I didn't hang out with on a regular basis. Well, one of these guys gave me a call before graduation the night before and was like, hey, do you think you can give me a ride? And I don't think he knew that I was planning on getting drunk before high school graduation.
I don't think anyone knew you were going to
So
get your mom.
So what I had picked up was I had picked up a 5th of Goldschlager and a 5th of Jose Cuervo tequila. And not for before.
Were you on a suicide mission?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Would you had it like this walking around?
The Jose Cuervo was actually for the after party. I was gonna make margaritas.
Okay.
But the Goldschlager was for before graduation, and at the time I was really into like schnapps and like things like that for some reason. I don't know like why, but I liked mint schnapps, and I liked Goldschlager because like of how like aggressive the taste was. I think at the time.
What'd your boyfriend think of that?
He was all in the entire time. But anyway, so the kid called me and I picked him up and I told him, I was like, hey, I've got some Goldschlager. Do you want to drink before the graduation? He was like, I don't know if we should do that.
I don't know, bro.
And I was like, well, I'm going to. And so what I started doing was swirling the Goldschlager around, because everybody knows that if you've ever drank Goldschlager, the gold flakes are supposed to, like, and this was all, I think, rumor, but the gold flakes were supposed to, I guess, like cut your throat, I guess, and like the alcohol gets in your bloodstream faster or something. That was the whole rumor. So I would always swirl it around to make sure I got a lot of gold flakes on the swigs I was taking. So he and I, he's still not convinced. So I took a few drinks while we're on our way to graduation, and he finally is like, okay, I'll take a couple. And so we ended up finishing the bottle of Goldschlager before, they're tiny little fifths, and we finished that before going in, and we're in there. And graduation is happening. They have the whole senior slideshow. They're showing pictures. And I, being like anti-establishment in high school, I didn't turn in any pictures. I didn't want to share any of those with anybody. So I was like, fuck that. I'm not going to do that. And so they're showing everybody that's in the senior class. We had a really small school. I graduated 68 kids. So the pictures are going by. And apparently a friend of mine put a picture in without my consent. It was like, here, this is Justin's like picture. And what it was me and a group of people that had gone on spring break that year.
Oh my God.
I was extremely intoxicated. Everybody else looked somewhat like they were having a good time, but I was like, had my arms around everybody and like kind of just making a really drunk face. And so all of my friends go, oh, and just like are clapping and laughing and having a good time. And I look back at my family and they're just like shaking their head.
We don't know that delinquent.
Shaking their head, looking down at the ground.
That's awesome. When I graduated high school, when you walk up and they announce the name, and so when the principal's reading the name, he looks down at the name, looks at me, looks back down. I'm like, oh shit, did I not graduate? I am freaking out. And then he said my name.
Yeah.
Because even afterwards, I was telling my parents, like, yeah, we were worried too, because he looked at you like you weren't supposed to be there.
He was like, wait, what was
God, that was so awkward.
His name wasn't
You
supposed to
found
be on the
out
list.
during rehearsal at my school who didn't graduate. Like,
Oh,
we had to go
God.
there the day before to practice walking down a line just in case you're that incompetent. You can't do it. And like, they just basically told, like, 12 people, I'm sorry, not this year, maybe next year. And you're just like, oh my God, like, if that were me, I would be like.
Well, I had gotten in trouble. That's why.
Well, so the very end of this story, though, that I have is I got my name called and I walked up and my principal shook my hand and I like pulled him in and like gave him like a one arm like hug, like real aggressively.
Yeah. Because
I told all my friends, I was like, I'm going to like make this weird for him. And I pulled him in, gave him a hug, pat him on the back and like, started to like let go, and he just looked at me and he just like shook his head and was just like completely disappointed in me and just told me to get the F off the stage, like under his breath.
That's awesome.
So it was, high school was a really good time for me. I had a lot of fun and got in a lot of trouble, but it was a good time.
That was pretty wild as well. My parents had me like on like they were like watching me at all times.
We had they just had the senior meeting and said, don't try to grab the headlines. You're almost done, behave.
Yeah.
So right after that, we skipped out and went to the local donut shop.
Nice.
And we were like 30 minutes late back to school. And we gave the teacher donuts. And she's like, well, here's your referral. So one of my buddies went down into the office, and Seymour's a 4A school. It's a pretty big school.
Yeah.
That's
And
huge.
he stole the referral out of the mailbox. So, well, anyways, we still got in trouble. So they called our parents. They said, well, either you can lose the graduation ceremony, where I was still going to graduate, but I wouldn't go through the
You wouldn't
ceremony.
be able to
And I was
walk.
like, okay.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, she's like, 18 years, I will walk you down there and make sure you go. So they took away the senior trip, which was to Kentucky Kingdom, which I don't like roller coasters, so whatever. So we had to set up for the senior, the graduation.
Yeah.
So we're in this van with this old ass dude, and so we had to clean up the school and do that. I'm like, hey, I was like, do you mind if we smoke some cigarettes while we're driving around? He's like, I don't give a fuck. So we're in the school van smoking heaters.
That's awesome.
Pull up to the middle school to get the risers. Open up. It's like a cloud of smoke rolls
like
out.
a Blink-182 video.
Yeah. and then the principal at the middle school is just shaking his head like,
These motherfuckers.
I had more fun doing that than I would going down there. So
Probably.
yeah, we just walked around. We just did whatever we wanted to do. So that's where I thought maybe that's why my name wasn't on there, because I was supposed to have that taken away from me. And I call my stepdad because my dad Steve threatened the vice principal, is like, "Fuck you ain't taking that away."
Well, that's good to have him stick up for you like that.
I worked in the office at my high school, and I was always getting I would steal parking passes for people because you had to take a drug test, or you had to sign to say you could be drug tested to have it. And a lot of people at our school smoked weed and stuff, so I wasn't cool, but that made me really cool. And I made fake report cards for people too. I would steal the papers and make fake report cards. And the reason I was in the office was because my mom argued about me getting into an AP math class, and she's like, well, she's taking it with Purdue then online. Fuck the system. My mom is always challenging my school. She was like, my kids don't have any problem, you have a problem. Which we are pretty bad, so sorry, Indian Creek. But and I just pretty much ran the system behind the scenes, in the office. It was cool. I made people passes to get out of class, and we'd sneak out. It was fun.
Well,
I never got caught, which was cool.
High school is a class system. It really is. It's the first example you get.
Absolutely.
And if
how
you
to
don't
work everything.
That's one aspect of it. And also is that you see the money, you see the influence, and you see
absolutely.
You have to be able to. That's where you really learn politics.
Absolutely.
And it made no sense to me, and I didn't understand it until probably around I was 16, 17. I was like, okay, now I see how the system works.
I learned really early that a lot of people can be your friend, but then if you
quickly enemies,
you can have for me, my example was I was friends with a lot of people, but then the people that didn't like me really hated me.
Yeah.
I had some big beefs with a group of people,
and that's how it was. I was not cool to begin with, and then I started dating cool people, and you're no one likes that. Then your old friends are like, we don't like her.
Girls are catty about that,
and
too.
you guys have it, I think, even harder
way worse.
now.
I would say high school
with
is
technology
hell.
and stuff.
Oh, I know. My kid. I mean, and the funniest story was I actually dated the vice principal's daughter. She was not good looking, just to be a dick, just so I could call his house. I'm like, hey, this is BJ, and he's like, what do you want? I'm like,
your daughter
home
specifically.
That was me. I enjoyed that. I have a great relationship, but
That's so
I
great.
felt like, because if you played sports and you were good, then you got to pass on a lot of friends and things like that. So, but now it's still the same. That hasn't changed. My sons are 13 and 12. It's the same fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it doesn't. It never is going to.
And the sad thing is, I have my little brother and sister, or half brother and sister. There's a 15-year gap between us, so they're just now starting high school, and I keep trying to tell them this stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But how can you tell somebody that's going through
so
it
good too
that it doesn't
it doesn't matter?
Well,
good.
Steph, my wife went through a class reunion in 20 years, and she was so excited, and then I was just like, fuck that.
I won't. I refuse.
I was like, if I want to talk to you, I'll talk to you. But they started one on, mine's next year for 20 years. That's how old I am. Fuck.
I just had my 5-year one, and
I will throw you out that window. And then,
I didn't go. I'm like, there are none of sitters.
I didn't either. I've never been to any of them.
Yeah.
And so someone sent me things like, you better go. And I said, I'm going to send AP in my place. He'll be fine.
That would be hilarious.
That'd be so funny. Ours was had some hole in the wall in our hometown, which is just tiny. And I'm like, there are not even enough sitters on this side of the Mississippi to watch all the kids that you guys have made. I'm the only one in my graduating class without children, and we aren't that old. We are not that old. It's just I'm just there's no one's gonna be there.
Well, here's the class reunion. So what are you doing? What are you up to? Do you have kids? Where you work at?
Yeah.
What side of town do you live on?
Yep.
How's your parents? I think if we just, like you said, how you did the pictures of graduation, but we just post pictures of BJ Robbins. This is where he lives at. This is what he does, and that way, everybody can know what's going on instead of having the same conversation. Or have a business card and say, "Here, this is what I'm doing now. Read that.
Yeah.
Ask me if you have some questions."
Yep.
Because that's all it is like, am I doing better than you? Mm-hmm. That's all everybody wants to know.
And for me to go back, like I never hung out with the people in my class. I hung out with people younger than me, and I hung out with people older than me. So our class, we didn't have a reunion for 5 years, and we just came over the 10-year mark. Didn't have one for that, and if we did, I was not a part of it. I don't remember.
Was the younger ones girls? Did you go through that? I went through that.
I think every guy went through that at some point.
Some of them were girls.
I always dated older people in high school.
There was a few guys that I was really good friends with that I felt like I took them under my wing, because the class directly below us, I considered they were goody two shoes. Like, they didn't want to drink, they didn't want to smoke pot, and like, we were on the football team, and I still to this day hold this very strongly as a theory on being a teammate. Me and my teammates, when I first played football, I was a freshman, and I was hanging out with the juniors and seniors because I started on the varsity team. And so I found out that they all drank and partied and hung out together outside of school all the time. So we were really good then. And then they graduated. I didn't hang out with the year directly ahead of me, my year, or the year directly behind me. But those guys were the guys that like didn't hang out outside of school, and they didn't drink, they didn't party, and when they did, it was like really lame.
Yeah.
So I took a couple of guys that I was friends with from the football team that were good football players on the freshman team, did the same thing that the older guys did with me, which is pulled them into that partying and hanging out and like, having a good time, and we became good again. So like, I still to this day hold it 100% fact that you don't have to like drink and smoke and do all that stuff, but doing that stuff as like kids when we were on the same team kind of built that trust between people, like which is like translates onto a football field, which is like, I know that guy, I just got drunk with him the other night, and he's gonna have my back out here, and it's just it's a close bond that the other guys didn't have. And so like, that's why I became friends with some of them. And then the older guys I just became friends with because they kind of like, sucked me in. And it was hilarious because every time I've done something for the first time, drink or smoked or any kind of drugs, the person that I was doing them with said, "Have you ever done this before?" And I was every time, "Oh yeah, I've done that.
Always.
I've done that. Like, I've done that so many times."
I usually get that from women.
First time I ever did mushrooms, died.
I remember being a freshman because we could still go out to lunch every day, and I saw the starting running back smoking a cigarette, and he was a senior. I was like, oh my God, he smokes.
Yeah.
Like, just when you get there, it's just overwhelming. But you truly never bond until you throw up with somebody.
Yeah.
You can't break that bond.
Or make someone throw up so they survive.
So it was, and like I said, the first time I drank, they were like, "Have you ever drank before?" "Oh yeah, I drink all the time." And so they had this like shot glass that was about like this tall. It's probably 4 or 5 shots in one shot glass.
Yeah.
They filled it up with vodka, and they were like, "So then you can handle that too, right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, of course."
It's like my breakfast.
Chugged it down probably 2 or 3 times, and then don't remember the rest of the night, but I was told how the whole night went.
There were pictures.
So that's a good high school chunk. I think we can move on from that. So I would say I had a good time in high school. What would you say?
I definitely did. I feel like high school was like a perfect hell. Like, it was good, but it was bad, and you're just happy it's over. You wouldn't redo it.
Yeah.
Which is exactly how I feel about college. It was like the most stressed out I've ever been in my life. I had so much fun. I was drunk for like 90% of it. Like, I don't remember a whole lot, but what I can recall, it was a good time. But mostly it was just stress and drinking.
Yeah.
I don't know if all my kids listen to this. Because she's like, I drank most of the time, but she still graduated. Maybe there's still hope.
Yeah. No, I mean, it did take me like 5.5 years. Like, I quit, went back, when my parents were just like, "So what's your major this week?"
Well, Ball State isn't the most strict college.
It was
it's
ranked,
a party
right?
school, but it's cheap. Yeah, it's like top 10 party schools.
It's been for the past, decade, 15 years, I remember that.
And they're trying to kill it at all costs. Like,
they're trying to slow it down, but I mean, they're not. You can't buy kegs a month. You pick up. There's like you can buy them like 15 minutes away.
You can go to Gas City 15 minutes away and buy one.
There's a story from the 80s, or I know this is weird, but they went up to Ball State, took a manhole cover. This is some people from my hometown. Mm-hmm. Is actually, I think it was Rip Rogers, the wrestler. He's
nice. He was on Pat McAfee's podcast.
He's from Seymour and met him many, many times. But he threw like a manhole cover like on the top of a car.
Oh
that's
my
how
God.
that's how it used to kind of be. He was just like, yeah, he used to go up there all the time and
Jesus.
well, that's pretty strong though.
Destructive.
Carrying
Yeah,
that up.
My friend at Ball State, I will not mention her name because I don't think anyone knows. So threw a cinder block on her boyfriend's car at Ball State
Oh my
because he was
God.
cheating on her
Girls be crazy.
on Halloween.
What's the worst that you've ever done to somebody?
You've been crazy, I'm sure. I think Hannah's more psychologically
I am not a force
crazy.
to be reckoned with. Like I'll break them down slowly and make them hate their life. Like,
Yeah, that's what I picture.
I sit back and watch until I wait till they text me again, and then I just kind of make them regret everything.
So have you noticed that dudes a lot of times just won't stop texting even though you told them that?
Yeah, no one. Yeah, yep.
Like-
Taking a hint is not a thing, I guess, anymore.
I can't figure out why you think the 17th time you text somebody that it's all going to be okay then.
Or, the Facebook messages. God, like, that has to be the worst form of communication. Like, do not Facebook message me, like, ever. Like,
Don't slide up into the DMs.
yeah, if you're in the DMs, you're dead to me.
I just send you should be tested. That's something I send. That way, that's my
That's
thing.
a good, warning. Like,
No, and then we were talking about this with somebody else. Like, if someone doesn't, you're just talking about high school, it kind of ties together. Like, just let it go.
Yeah.
Like, I understand if it's a mother of your kids. I understand if it's somebody that meant the world to. But if you were dating someone for 7-8 months, that's not that long.
Yep.
yeah, it's
Let it
not,
go, bro.
Get over it.
Oh, dude.
Roll over it. I even consider if it's under, like, a year and a half, I'm like, it was a short thing. It wasn't a thing. Like, let's not talk about it.
I was
a
bad.
phase.
I was bad when I was younger in relationships because when they would end, I would just completely ghost that person. I would delete them from social media. I would delete their phone number.
You have to. You don't want to feel bad.
Well, the saddest part is I don't have any of my stuff anymore that I used to have
Old
then.
pictures.
So I had my T-shirts with my football number on it in high school, but I'd just be like, cut all ties. I guess that's gone forever.
Yeah.
Or I lived in an apartment that a girl had stayed with me at, and I moved out of it. Or no, I lived in a house with somebody, not with the girl, but the girl had moved in, and
Yeah.
I just moved out. And left
Bye.
left all of my furniture, left all of my stuff there, and just
that's
was
how
like,
I am too, though. I'm like, if we're
Just
if
like,
we're
that's gone
ending
forever
this,
now.
this, I won't. I used to be like block them completely, but I'm like, I don't want to be some like shitty like punk rock album, and like, I just want to just like cleanse myself of that energy and just try and be normal again, like
yeah. And I just think it's sad just because I'm sad about all the stuff I lost. Like when Jen and I met, I had like 3 shirts that were like my going out shirts, and she used to always be like, "Is that all you have?" And I was like, "Yep." And
You're
I
like
look
a
good
really
in
cool-
it, and that's why I still have it.
It's like a really cool homeless person.
I'm gonna show up here one time, do the podcast, and you're just gonna be gone. Like, where'd he go? What did I do to him? Why
One of
did
my
he leave?
one of my friends is the most dramatic breakup person. She'll pack their stuff up and she'll set it on their front porch and leave them a letter. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck that noise.
Yeah, and
Got a trash can, don't you? Like,
and that the last one that happened with that losing all like my furniture and stuff, I actually got sent a video from one of my friends because she took it out in the backyard and burned all of it. And I was like, well, I guess. Like, what's
All right.
funny is like how that
Carrie
didn't
Underwood,
affect me at all. Then I was like, well, that fucking sucks.
Carrie
but whatever.
Underwood, I need you to chill.
I'm gonna move on from there. So, what were you had told me about general studies degrees and people getting excited about them?
Yeah, I was just honestly kind of like, that was me being annoyed because I was hungover and like some people were getting really obnoxious. So you hear like at graduation, there's everyone who got their masters and, they're like, they do this crazy study or something even bigger than a master's. Like, and those people were all very calm, collective, like their families were clapping. But then as soon as you go over to just bachelor degrees and you are reading it, it's like, Shanae got her general study, and then her family goes crazy. I'm like, good luck getting a job. Like, that's not a thing. Like, that, you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to go crazy like that, at least make it for the MBAs.
Yeah.
Like, not the,
Hannah's judging hard on these people.
They were just being obnoxious about the smallest things. I'm like, it's not that deep. Like, my parents, I didn't even hear them clap. I wasn't even sure they were there. Like, my dad's like, no, we were there.
Yeah, they did the golf clap.
Yeah, okay, so it's fine. Clap as much as you, but like, it was rude to me when.
I like that you said Shanae too. I'm sorry that sounds very
I'm sorry
racist.
that was, and then someone's name, I swear to God, was Capri Sun. Like, I was like, it was like Capri Sun. I was like, okay, so a fancy way of like dressing up a Capri Sun. But like those people were like the most obnoxious fans. But my whole thing is I don't care. Get excited, whatever. Like your kid graduated, that's tight. Like it's a ton of money and investment you put in that. But if you're like carrying on and you can't hear the next 3 people's names, go to hell,
that makes
dude.
sense.
You're like ruining it for everyone else. Like that's so rude. Like that's wrong. Like I get it, you're excited, but like those people don't even get to hear their kids' names. I just sat there like, are you kidding me?
So at first I was judging you for judging all these people.
No, I don't think I'm better than anyone. It took me 5.5 years to get my freaking sales marketing degree. Like I'm not judging.
You kind of brought it full circle. And now I'm a little bit more on your side.
Yeah, no, I don't care. Like, I'm just saying, like, calm down. And I know you're really excited about this general studies, but like, these people didn't hear these 3 families didn't hear their kids' names. Like, that's wrong. That's so wrong.
I wish they whoever the president or the master of ceremonies goes, I know you fuckers are not going to listen.
Yeah.
But please, we want to hear everybody's name. But there's going to be one of you jackasses that's going to be like, and it's...
They say that at the beginning, too. Hold your applause for the end.
But they need to curse at him.
Yeah. Yeah. But, like, I would have stopped the whole ceremony to make them feel ignorant. Like, I would have just been like...
Are you done?
Yeah. Well, like, wouldn't you be, like, royally ticked off if your kid graduated, but you couldn't hear them because Shanae's family is really freaking excited? Like, would you...
Stop, Shanae. I'm sorry.
Like, I would be so pissed. Like,
or little
it doesn't
Timmy.
even have to be Shanae. It can be Jamie Lynn's parents were crazy too. Like, like it's not okay. Like to be like that. Like I'm not even referring to any like race or anything. I'm referring to just socially like unacceptable behavior. Like
that was just the first name that came to your head.
Well, it was Shanae and Capri Sun and Jamie Lynn. Like those are 3 of them. I was just like,
those were the 3 in a row that she heard, and that's what set
not even
her
in
off.
a row because I wouldn't be able to hear their names.
and until they get about 6-7 months later, they don't have a job, and they're like, we're clapping for this, and you're still sitting here doing nothing.
And the other thing is, like, you're really setting them up for mediocrity, kind of, if you're just, like, over freaking out about, like, that. Like, I don't know. You're just like, okay, Shanae, you just chill now. Jamie Lynn, don't worry about it. Like, you did what you had to do. Like,
and the job market's changed now. The degree does not hold as much water as it used to.
Like, as soon as I graduated, my parents were like, what's the next step? I'm like, okay, I don't know.
Are you going to go back to school?
Yeah, I don't think so, man. It was tough the first time, and that was probably the most stress I've ever had ever.
I've found that, the student loans is just not worth it. I want to go back, but I also want to do it for free. I don't want to do it. I don't want to. You
got to find a company that will pay for you to do it, though. That's the thing. A lot of people do.
Mine will, but they'll pay you back. Like they don't pay you up front.
Yeah.
So it's 80%. So you have to put out 20%.
And there's some companies, if you're going in the field that they're in or a field that they have, then they'll help you out. But like most of it's tuition reimbursement.
Yeah,
there are a lot of hurdles for sure. My parents, I'm fortunate. They helped me out a lot, and I have minimal loans, but yeah, they're still rough. Like it's still, like I don't know, like probably like more than a quarter of my paycheck. Like I try and get them out of the way though, because I'm like one day I'm gonna want to like do other things and
yeah. So we do have a phone call that we're gonna make. It is storming outside, so if you guys hear that over the mics, they pick up sound pretty well. So it's getting a little dark in here, but I feel like the light still looks pretty darn good for the Facebook Live. So if you guys are on Facebook Live, I appreciate you watching. And we're going to be calling Jono Zalay, a stand-up comedian, and I didn't get a whole lot of background because producer Tom isn't here today, so we're just going to kind of talk to him. All right, welcome to the show, Jono Zalay. Is it Zalay? Or is it
Zalay?
Zalay. All right. This is Jono Zalay, and he is the festivals and competitions that he's competed in as a stand-up comedian is Riot LA's Comics to Watch, Comedy Central's Comics to Watch, New York Comedy Festivals. You got a really long list here, man. I'm not going to read it all, but it looks like you're involved in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, festivals are like my only my only comedy credits, really.
Well,
I've done like 30 of them.
Well, welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you taking your time out of your day to do it. So where are you located at currently?
Great question. It's actually somewhat of a transition. I'm in New York City right now, but in 2 weeks I'll be in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow. So looking at your bio online from your webpage, it said that you had moved from San Diego to Boston, and that's an interesting route. Why did you decide to do that?
Great question. So San Diego, great city, loved it, but didn't have much of a comedy scene when I was there in the mid 2000s. And then I was also like just out of college, and So I was interested in science, which is like what I majored in college. And so I applied to graduate schools in cities where I could do stand-up. So like, because I wanted to simultaneously pursue comedy and neuroscience. So I ended up going to Boston University for graduate school, and Boston has a really good stand-up scene, so I thought it best of both worlds.
So in the Boston stand-up scene, who have you been around very much? Like, I mean, I know there's a lot of guys that we've talked to, kind of trying to get them to do the show as well. So I just wanted to see who you've rubbed elbows with a little bit.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, I think you've had on the podcast my pal Tom Dustin.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was really funny.
He's the best. He's like the mayor of Boston comedy. That's his nickname. He started our softball league that we were in when I was there.
That's awesome.
It's still going. They didn't stop when I moved to New York. But
you weren't the MVP. They didn't disband the team after.
I was, but somehow they went on. I mean, you have to. You can't just. I think it was the confidence I instilled in them that they could keep going without me. I think that's, I mean. I'd like to play a role even if I'm not there.
Did they get a ringer, like somebody that they said was a stand-up comic, but like he's like a ex MLB player or anything?
Oh, sure, I'm sure. Like there's a bunch of shenanigans whenever like there's competition and crazy egos involved. That was the best part of that. It was just like I played sports in high school, so I like enjoyed like the like borderline athleticism of like playing softball with comedians, but like it was more fun to just watch these like insane egos like not be able to handle that they're in their 40s and can't run full speed or like catch a ball the way they used to, and like they'd get real frustrated. It was real funny.
Yeah, there's
been like it's come to some questionably violent altercation at this very friendly like softball league.
Yeah, who would you say was more athletic, you or Tom Dustin?
Oh, I mean, he wouldn't. I mean, Tom, swell guy, but he's not an athlete. He's. I think he like. How does he describe himself? Like a mix between Ellen DeGeneres and Niles Crane. Niles Crane. He is a slight man, but he's got a big heart, and that shows through. I mean, it's a big evil heart, but certainly.
That's actually how people talk about me, I think.
Oh, good to know. Yeah. So Dan Bolger is another guy. I've lived with him for a year. When I lived in Boston, he's a great guy. If you haven't had him on, you should get him.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're always looking for new people.
Hannah was actually asking me a couple of questions. So how would you say that you did what was your first experience with stand-up comedy?
Yeah.
Oh, like watching it wise or like doing it?
Like, how'd you get into it? Like what was your first step in the door, I guess?
Good question. I think that like I grew up in San Diego and went to college in Santa Barbara, so like Southern California. There wasn't like much of a stand-up scene in either city, so I wasn't seeing like live shows all the time. I would only see it on TV. Like at the time, like Comedy Central had this show Insomniac with Dave Attell, who's like still my favorite comic to this day, and like that was like sort of a big influence. Like the people that were like huge in stand-up at the time when I was starting were Dane Cook and Mitch Hedberg.
That's crazy that you brought up Dane Cook, because so would you say that were you like around that time when he was like getting super huge, like as in like doing the stadium shows and stuff? Because that was like one of my first things that I started, like when I started watching stand-up comedy, that kind of like somebody showed me that. And it was a few years old by the time I had seen it, and I was always a fan of stand-up, but like I never like really started watching it to the point where I was trying to like figure out who I liked and like what I liked about them. And then also the Bob and Tom show here in Indianapolis has really influenced my my love of stand-up comedy, because they have their guests on all the time, and I'm trying to, as a podcast host, kind of emulate that a little bit, because I would like to kind of get a little bit more like, a behind the scenes like look at your guys' life and kind of like, you know, make you more human than just watching you on stage?
Oh yeah. Well, speaking of being human, I was on the Bob and Tom show once, like 3 years ago.
Nice.
And they record, like, the good thing about podcasting is you can do it whenever. You don't have to wake up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, absolutely.
True.
So, like, that's why I'm so glad that podcasts exist instead of having to do radio all the time, because it's such a nightmare to, like I would go to bed at, like, 3 or 4 in the morning and then, like, set my alarm for 5 a.m. to go drive.
Just to get a little cat nap.
To these studios and then, like, try to remember my jokes. Like, it was just such autopilot.
So this is a question that I've always had, and I've never had somebody that's been on the Bob and Tom show or on radio shows. So how does it work? Do you give them like set material and then they build it into the show and then like it brings it up so that you can kind of like easily flow into a joke, or is it kind of like off the cuff?
A little. I mean, mostly the topics are pre-scripted. It can become off the cuff as you like kind of riff on it as they ask more questions and stuff like that. But generally speaking, you'll have like, hey, what's going on in your life? What do you want to talk about? Like, do you have any fun stories or whatever? And then you tell the producers that, you know, prior to the show, so they have like some bullet points, like, so like, oh, so Jono, I hear you used to be a scientist, and then why don't you tell us about that? And then I'll go into like, you know, my story of that, and I'll have some scripted bits.
Nice.
And then like, you know, back and forth, you chime in, you riff.
So Jono, tell me about being a scientist.
I'm so unprepared for that. I don't even know what to say.
Tell us about all the cells in a plant.
Oh man, I don't know anything about, like, I barely know. Like, here's the thing, I have a PhD in neuroscience. And I barely know anything about the human brain. Like, I studied rats in grad school, and like, so I know quite a bit about the rat brain, but I have no discernible.
There's not a lot of parallels, is there?
No, I mean there's only very loose parallel. Like, just like I studied drug addiction, so I gave cocaine to rats, as you do.
And you guys started hanging out all the time.
Yeah. We'd get some real deep conversations.
Invite the strippers over.
Make some plans. Yeah, the only way they take it. But yeah,
that's great. And so once again, I do have BJ here, and what would you want to know about Jono Zalay? Sorry.
Well, my father-in-law is a scientist. He has it's in philosophy of chemistry, right?
Yeah.
I want to ask him, do you have people ever, like when I first met him, I wanted to show him I wasn't stupid. Do you ever have people sometimes like walk up to you instead, you know, like when they're trying to get to know you, instead just talk to you like, you know, a normal bro would, and they're trying to throw out like random facts? You're like, well, what are you doing?
Well, like I certainly like just would prefer they speak to me like a human, and like be like, if they're interested in science, like they can show it in you know, whatever ways. But I like will hear someone's like, oh, you're a neuroscience, like, what do you think about this author that and then like I've never heard of them, so then I have to pretend like I know more than I do.
Yeah, because they're expecting it. They think you're like this magical fairy.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a lot of good hypotheses.
That's why I led with the plant question, because I was really good at biology, like 100, which is basically just like memorizing parts of a leaf. And it's like a fancy. Sure. Yeah, that's all I did.
Now,
all I remember is the xylem and the phloem.
Got the chlorophyll, the nucleus.
Get out of here, Anna.
Sorry, I got it all. Like I can tell you all the phases: anaphase, metaphase, and prophase.
Get out of here.
So I know the Boston scene is legendary. Some of the, you know, like Bill Burr's from there, and I think Louis C.K.'s from there. What's that scene like compared to where you're at in New York now?
Well, even like, I mean, the Boston scene is historically very relevant, produced a lot of great acts and stuff like that. But it's, you know, like it's always been smaller than New York. New York has always had the best stand-up comedy scene, at least, other than maybe LA. back and forth over the decades. But yeah, it's just a like just the way that it's as a city, it's a little bit smaller. Like it's as a comedy scene, it's just a little bit smaller. So like it's it's tiers really. Like there's a few great comedy cities. There's like LA, New York, Chicago, and then there's like everyone else is like all the other major cities are like second tier.
Yeah,
I'd say. And like they're great. I mean, Boston, like it's such a cool like mix of like blue collar, like thick accent, Irish guys, and then like some of the smartest people on the planet at like MIT and Harvard, and like it's just a strange cocktail of like for a city that's also like that was a big adjustment actually coming from California, was trying to survive in Boston as a person who's like, I'm not overtly friendly, but I'm like pretty cheerful.
Yeah.
And then like the confrontational nature of the Boston populace was a little.
How do you like them
adjusting.
I love it.
Yeah, like I never before have I had to like avoid fights just by being in a room that like fights are about to happen.
So
yeah,
like listening to you describe the scene, you had mentioned there being like a lot of like intelligent people and then also maybe not so intelligent people. What would you, this is literally just popped in my head, would you say making somebody laugh that is intelligent is easier than making somebody laugh that is dumb?
I wouldn't say, like, it depends on who you are. Like, yeah. I prefer someone who's a little more informed, because some of my material can be esoteric, and describing it as such is a kind of a litmus test to see how many people can even know that word. So like it's like
you might have to break that down for some of the listeners.
Yeah, esoteric means not commonly known. Yeah. So I got some deep cuts in my like references and like concepts or whatever that I want to talk about because I'm interested in them. Like I studied these different things about science and I want to tell people about them, but like their baseline knowledge might be different in certain areas. Like you'll go to some suburban town at like a sports bar and you're doing a bar show, and it's like, well, I want to talk about theoretical physics, but I might have to just talk about my boner. You make some sacrifices, but overall, like it just like if your material is good enough, you should be able to do it anywhere. Like you shouldn't be like I'm not pretentious about like my materials, like, oh, only smart people get it. Like I do have dick jokes.
You always have to have a dick joke here and there.
Yeah, I'm not above doing them. I'll do anything. I'll talk about relationships and whatever. It's you strive to be universal as much as you want to have a good fan base.
Yeah.
Got to be appealing to the masses.
And talking about the esoteric thing, it makes me think of the TV show Archer, because that show I will be watching and I will pause it because I'll like hear the reference and like not know it. And so then I'll Google the reference so then I can actually appreciate the joke when they say something.
Right.
So.
Oh yeah. I used to do that. Like even like when I was applying to grad school, I'd be watching some show and then like I would be studying for the GRE, which is like the grad school SATs. Mm-hmm. And then like I would learn a word and then I would start seeing it in different shows. I was like, man, I just like didn't get that Simpsons episode or that Simpsons joke without this. And I just kind of glossed over it.
Yeah, and that in itself is something where you, I think that's actually like a study as well. Like when you learn something new, you start to see it all the time. Or if you get like a new car, you start to see that car everywhere. There's something with that, but I don't know what it is.
I'm sure.
It's like relativism. Like
don't say theory of relativity.
Yeah, it's just really it's like everything's relative, or I don't know. You just compare it more when you have it.
So where are you performing in the near future?
Well, tonight I've got shows just in New York. I'm going to be in New York City for the next week doing shows, and then like in LA, I'll be at the Hudson Theater on August 3rd. It's a Thursday. Yeah. My friend Joe Zimmerman, who's another great comic that you should maybe look into, he he's really into science. He doesn't have a science background, but we like wrote this sort of science comedy show that we're doing as like a live TV pilot.
Nice.
On August 3rd in LA at the Hudson Theater.
Very much
so
good luck to you on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
But yeah.
Actually, speaking of which, I actually have to go meet him to practice our lines for it. Is it how much longer?
No, we're good. I just wanted to kind of chat with you, and I think that we've had a good one so far, and we'll be watching for that. What's the title of it, or do you guys have a title yet?
It's called Space Time.
Nice. So we will look for Space Time, and then also we'll definitely promote you on our podcast with the Jono Zalay.
Zalay.
I'm sorry that I can't get that. I apologize.
I do not care.
I'm gonna get.
It's such a tricky name. It's Hungarian. Like, it's crazy.
I'm gonna get way better at it. But I very much appreciate you doing the podcast and taking the time out of your day.
Absolutely.
And if you're ever in the Indianapolis area, hit me up, because we don't even have to do a podcast. We can go out for a drink or something, and I can show you the southeast side of Indianapolis.
Oh, nice.
But
mostly done the Broad Ripple area.
That's a fun show, or at least the ones I've been to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good place to do it.
But once again, thank you for doing it, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And look for this. This episode will actually be out tomorrow. I don't do a whole lot of editing, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm not going to make you sound bad. But thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye now.
I can never figure out how to hang up the phone. I always wait for them to do it.
You'd be the worst, like, breakup. Like, we're over. Oh, fuck.
Well, he just asked him out on a date, though.
Exactly.
Did you notice? I'll show you the southeast side of Indianapolis. How's over there going?
Are you trying to kill him?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But if he wants to go get a drink,
I mean, what if I said it to you? What are you doing after this? I can show you the south side of Indy.
I would say no, the fuck you won't.
See?
He was just being a lot more polite than Hannah would be.
Show you the back of my trunk.
Yeah,
What?
I literally tweeted the other day. I was drinking, and we were just talking about funny one-liners. I'm like, let's talk about first date one-liners. So I was like, oh, this is going really well. We should take this back to my shed.
Back to my shed.
And everyone's like, did someone say that to you? I'm like, no. Who the heck do you think I'm going on dates with?
You'd love to see the other dead bodies.
How good are you at digging holes?
He got some really strong shoulders there.
Yeah. I feel like actually someone said that to me.
My mom's going to love you. I don't meet parents on the first day. For other reasons.
We've already...
like Texas Chainsaw Massacre reasons.
We've already talked about me awkwardly meeting someone's parents on the first date. It was a nightmare.
So this is kind of getting close to the end. Do you guys have any extra stuff that there was? Okay, so I do every now and then. I do the Juice Deep Thought of the Week, and I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. So I was driving to work, and I know this was actually. It's not necessarily topical at this moment, but it happened, and it was on the news. Aaron Hernandez had, committed suicide in jail. Mm-hmm. So Aaron Hernandez, Hannah, if you don't know who that is, was a tight end for the Patriots.
I'm
a very
aware
specimen of a man. He was very strong and
murderer. Sorry,
murderer and fast and everything. So I thought, just all of a sudden, I was like, what if all of these athlete deaths and things like that might just be hoaxes, and that they're actually in an underground fighting ring for like aliens, like just like stealing those people and putting them into like a fighting ring like Thor Ragnarok. Like, this is the representative from Earth, Aaron Hernandez. He's murdered 3 people, like giving the bio, like murdered 3 people in cold blood, and like we're gonna pit him against Gornak from Mars or something like that, and see who wins.
I think I would discredit that just because you cannot get a good tan underground.
and well, Aaron Hernandez had the olive skin already, so
still, without sunlight, no. I'll let you take this one.
Well, because I see your point in this, because I'm also a nerd, because if they die, they're already going to sentence basically to die in jail
anyway. Exactly.
Yeah, true.
So we wouldn't be losing someone that'd be paroled. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I could see that. But if he ran up against Thor, if he ran up against Loki, I mean, he doesn't stand a chance. I mean, does he get a helmet? I mean, do we get him?
I think it's leaving it open to all interpretations. So you could do whatever you want.
With that being said, is OJ really getting released?
Yes. And then we were talking about this pre-show too, was because this is Juice in the Morning.
Yep.
How many people are going to download the show and be like waiting for OJ?
Yep.
And they hear the show, they're like, "Oh, I love the show. I'm going to keep listening to it." So you guys have a big opportunity.
Yeah, and I think OJ, and this is, I posted it on my Facebook, so if you follow, you guys have seen it already. But I think OJ performed the hat trick of getting out of jail because he's been out of jail 3 times now. When those 3 times he probably should have stayed in there.
Guilty.
And then they weren't even. He wasn't even like, he kept saying, "Well, he testified, so I don't really have to tell you I'm remorseful. I've already." I said I was on vacation. I sat there and watched the whole thing for like an hour. I was like, he hadn't said he's sorry once. And he can't touch his pension from the NFL.
He's one of those people that goes to jail and he thinks everyone else should be sorry that he had to do that. Like, even though he did something wrong.
I had one of my black friends say he is really white. That's a text that is like, OJ's free, and he's like, he must be white.
That's crazy. And you know, it's sad for myself because I started like saying all the things that I was saying now, and I was around people that were African American. So then I started thinking, like, am I being racist? Because I think that OJ should be in jail.
I don't think you're racist. I think you have eyes and ears, and I think you're like, you have like a pulse, and you know that.
I was just waiting for one of them to say, like, well,
that's the thing though. Like,
give
the
their
majority
side,
of people
and they agreed with me.
He just it just doesn't make sense. Like, it does not make sense that he wasn't put in jail.
Well, 2 things is
Casey Anthony's not in jail for the same reason.
Yeah, I watched that
shitty jury.
I watched that show and I was like, how is she not in jail? I don't understand.
Blind morons. I think there needs to be more of like a I don't know, literacy test to be a juror. Like, it just blows my mind. Like,
well, I was talking to Jen about this last night. I was like, it's crazy because the way our society is, he's gonna be in the spotlight again. Like, and
absolutely,
he's not going to end his life in a poor, terrible, broken down state, which I think a lot of people would be appreciative if he did end like that. But like, the way people are going to ask him for interviews, if he wanted to do an interview on this show, I would do it. Yeah. And like, I wouldn't pay him because we don't have any budget to pay people to do interviews.
I have $5.
But like, I would want to talk to him and just hear what he says, because everybody says he's one of the most charming people they've ever met.
Yeah, no, he is. And the sad part is he'll live his life out, and he'll be, like she said though, but he was found guilty responsible for the murder and have to pay all these millions, and he doesn't have to pay it back.
Yeah,
because you can't touch the pension. And in Florida, it's even harder. Federal law is trumped by the state law in Florida. That's why he wants to go to Florida. Mm-hmm. The funniest thing he said was like, well, you could be arrested for drinking. It's like, well, he was, instead of saying, you know what, I don't plan on drinking, he's like, I haven't drank in 9 years, shouldn't be a problem. I'm like, and you're gonna let him go?
He hasn't drank in 9 years because he's been in jail.
Yeah.
Wait. I was under the impression you could make toilet wine in jail.
You can.
So that's a lie?
Yeah, he's definitely lying. He probably had the best toilet wine.
One time in college, we had to bail a friend out for like getting like a DUI or something, and the whole time I'm just clowning with the guards. I'm like, so if they made wine here in the toilet, do they get to keep it? And the guards just like, why don't you have pants on? Like, tight shorts.
Why don't you have pants on?
Like, I don't know.
But you just did say that you had shorts. You weren't just I
was like, they're shorts. He's like, I would not let my daughter. I'm like, not your daughter.
Good thing.
Oh, I love that. I love that speech when other parents tell other parents what they need to do, and I like it when they're not even parents.
Probably wasn't. He was like my age.
And that, I mean, the main thing that I think is interesting about it, once again, is the fact that he's been out 3 times, and he always successfully finds his way back in. So I've thrown it out there, and you can hear it here. This is gonna like record it forever. I think he's going to go back to jail before he's dead and gone.
Well, they say like when you go to jail for a long time, you don't really know how to not be in jail. Like not even that like he wouldn't survive like out of jail like without the means. Like they say you just don't know how to survive without being like, you're around people like that.
I just think he's crazy, and I think he's going to go back.
Yeah.
I think something's going to happen. He's going to do the same thing. We're trying to get his memorabilia back. That's the reason that he was in the last time, because of wasn't it the like unregistered weapon or something?
Well, the items he was trying to get back, most people thought it was autographs, stuff like that. These were actually pictures of like his family.
Oh,
like from when the house was put up for sale or whatever. So someone had bought his personal items, like family family photos, and that's what he was trying to get back. And OJ came in with a gun. I mean, he'll probably go back. I mean, I don't want him to. You think, because our justice system is a fucking joke anyways. Yeah. We don't rehabilitate. We just, because if it's overcrowded, they're going to shove someone out anyways, where you get more jail time for cannabis than you do being a pedophile.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
It doesn't make sense.
But long story short, OJ is going to be out. The juice will be loose. The Juice in the Morning podcast will also be loose.
I just love it. It made me giggle.
I'm definitely going to title this. I don't know if I should do OJ. I don't know. I'm going to have to think of a title. Hannah, you're going to have to help me think of a title.
One more topic, though. Speaking of Juice will be loose, Usher. Can we discuss?
Ah, yes.
We almost passed on that one.
Yeah.
Usher is giving out herpes like it's candy on Halloween.
But it's the gift that keeps on giving
all year round.
And then what gift did he give to the lady?
The herps.
And also, what else now? What do you have to pay?
$1 million. $1.1 million.
Would you get herpes for $1 million?
I would not. If it was something like that would go away, I would consider.
The way you asked it was so good. Would you do it for one?
It was like a game
because
show.
You probably
for
still
$1 million, would you take?
Yeah, I mean,
Usher's herpes.
You still have a lot of life to live ahead of you. I'm 37, which I know.
That's a lot of herpes that comes back. Like
I know.
Maybe when I was 99, I would think about it. Like,
but when you're not as active as I am, anyways, being married, like it won't hurt.
Yeah, like one time for the first off,
if I told my wife
it's okay to hook up with Usher without a freaking glove, like.
Well, and that's what the whole lawsuit is about. Is in L.A. it is illegal to have sex with somebody with that you have an STD and you have sex with them,
it's
and
like
that
you
didn't disclose it.
If they're in, once you get a doctor, once there's documentation like known that you have it, even if they don't tell you, once there's documentation and you hook up with someone else not disclosing that unprotected, it's basically like battery of bodily fluids, and then it can be a felony in some states. I'm pretty sure it's a felony in India.
That's why I'm surprised he got away with just settling it with a cash. $1.1
million for what he's worth. I'd be like, let's make it 50.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I take a shot for $1 million.
So
and he's like, he paid for her hospital, but or her doctor bills. Like that's probably like $100 here and there.
Speaking of the Usher thing, somebody posted a Instagram picture, and it was Usher and Magic Johnson shaking hands and pointing at the camera, and somebody said, "There's a lot of positivity in this picture."
He's worth $180 million. I'd be like, cut me a bigger slice of that.
What is that, like 1%?
Yeah, less
10%?
than that.
Am I
less
dumb?
than that. Less than that. Well, that's one of 180.
So what's one of 100?
180. That's one of 180.
So what's one of 100?
So
one of 100 is 1%.
Yeah. So like I said, I know it's more than that.
So let's just round it up to 200%. That's less than 1%.
It's 0.05%. Is a closer estimate.
Okay.
So Derek Jeter of the New York Yankees, you're familiar with him, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
After you sleep with him, he would give you a gift bag. Like you would leave the little door guy like, here you go. It's a true story.
iPad, Beats headphones.
Yeah, the
also,
normal.
a shot of penicillin.
Yeah.
For the troubles.
And then Usher gives you herpes and like a check for $1 million.
Yeah.
Tell your friends.
Pretty decent gift bag.
Dude, I don't know, because then you have to start disclosing it to everyone. Like,
true.
You have herpes. Like, you are now a carrier, and you have to start. And you cannot get married if you have herpes. Like, no one's gonna marry you. Like,
unless they have.
I'm
herpes.
sorry.
Well, there's a herpes Tinder.
But
I think.
I read it. I read the whole article. 1 in every 6 humans gets herpes now.
That's insane.
So if there were 3 more people in the room, who would it be? Hopefully one of the randos. Hopefully, pray.
Oh my God, you guys are killing me with this one.
Well, I mean, I agree with her 100%.
But the thing that I took from the Usher thing was, now any time that we ever hear an Usher song, I'm going to think that he has herpes.
And the confessions, what are you confessing, dude?
That's
a whole different secret behind all that.
It's all I'm going to think about. Just like what Aaron said about me doing my nose picking deep thought of the week. Every time somebody picks their nose, that's what they're thinking of. Every time you guys listen to Usher now, you're going to think, he's got herpes.
These are my remix.
And it's not super...
Got one on the way.
It's not super sexy to hear somebody singing about this stuff when they have herpes.
I remember my sister, when we were growing up, had Usher posters everywhere in our room, and now I'm like, that was morbid. Like,
yep.
He was looking at us dead in the eyes saying, you're next. Like, get tested. We were like 13, 14.
Us dead in the eyes. You're next.
I think he also has, I think, 2 sons also.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, like, my kids are like I said, 13, 12, and I was a celebrity. But like, hey, Dad's on the news. Oh no.
And and Usher's not really a common name. Like,
no.
I know when I'm at a
Usher?
wedding and they're like, "Oh, he's an Usher," I'm like,
yeah. We all giggle.
Immediately start singing an Usher song in your head, but. Yeah, no. It's pretty hard to mistake that with someone else.
I think it'd be worse with your friends, though. Your boys would be roasting you. You'd be like, saw you on the news. Oh, it's not true. Really? You got some right here.
Or like, oh, you're going on a date tonight? Did you already write the check? Or
Did you already write the check?
How awkward. Every date's going to cost you $1.1 million. You only can go on 179 more dates. Like,
this is why I don't want to be single. This is
just
a thought of that, yeah.
It's the worst.
I mean, you're taking it's
now
like,
I gotta play even more defense.
It's like STD roulette. What's the odds of him having this one or this one? His face, no flare up. You go in his medicine cabinet to check, make sure he doesn't.
You're just doing an inspection.
Valtrex. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I'm just guessing.
Herpes medicine?
I'm just guessing.
I
think
I
I've heard
remember
enough
Kenny
jokes
Powers
about it.
said it. He was like, "Oh, you forgot to take your Valtrex."
I used to work at a place, and I can't say it because I get in trouble.
HIPAA.
Yeah, it's a big HIPAA violation. But we used to look up athletes.
Ooh.
To see, yeah.
Oh my God,
I didn't.
that's
Someone showed it
tight.
to me. I would walk back there, and this is like 2003 when I first moved to Indy.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning.
And so we'd sit there. We don't know if it had to be really them too, and we go through and read some of their medications they were doing.
Stop.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I see that at Ulta, but like it's like medic stuff, like or face stuff. Like I'm like, I wonder what this bitch uses because it's everywhere. Like all this.
So we were looking up like Pacers because they're easier to know a Pacer because there's only like 10, 11 people than there is the Colts or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't imagine. That's the bad thing about getting famous because you're afraid of what's behind you and you make, like you said, make one person mad.
Honestly, I think that if I was famous and didn't have to worry about my current occupation, I would just be like, fuck it. Like, know everything about me. I don't care. Like, because there's not, I have some embarrassing stuff, but like I've talked about it a lot. So like,
yeah.
I don't really feel like it's something that I need to really hide.
Yeah.
I don't know. My thing is I've always thought it would be awesome to run for office, but I know that would never
skeletons in your closet all
that would
day.
never happen with all the stuff that I've had in my past. But
yeah. Well, it's funny seeing like athletes go out too. Like my friends, quite a few of my friends work downtown, and the Pacers players will go out and they'll be like wearing their hoodies. Like they'll put their hood up, and I'm like, that's really weird. Like we'll
so
go
then
like
they're
drink
making
with them.
themselves more conspicuous.
Well, it's like they're super tall, and it's like you know who they are, and like people, like he's here, and let's go drink.
You don't see a lot of 6'8" people running around. 6'9", 6'10".
Yeah, it's not.
And then they're bad position because there are people out there that want to take advantage of them. Whether it's like, hey, can you buy me a drink, or hey, can I get an autograph?
Absolutely.
Well, and Pat McAfee just talked about it on his podcast. Is like you always have that group of people there that want to try to measure up to them and start something with them because I played high school football. Like I'm gonna beat
cooler
your
than
ass.
you. It's like, dude, it's not. It's like I'm here. I'm fortunate that I'm here. Like I'm not trying to like.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Headbutt you.
And now with the cameras and everything, like people want to get somebody on camera doing something shitty so that they can be.
It's Juice's stomach.
so that they can be the next YouTube star.
Yeah.
Speaking of YouTube, after the podcast, we're going to do a Who Knows the Other Person Better. So look for that on YouTube. By the time this podcast releases, that should be up maybe in a week or two from then. But once again, I want to say thank you for being on.
Not a problem.
What's your experience? Have you enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the show's grown. I mean, because it's like I've had a co-host since the beginning. Mm-hmm. You've just started getting a co-host, and like it was really smooth. Mm-hmm. And plus, we just did one not too long ago. Yeah. So and we got along and we've done like one phone interview or whatever, and that's so tough. I mean, because you don't know them. And
I'm a big person that I like react to like the way people's facial reactions are happening. So like, I always get in trouble for it at work because like I'll be giving somebody negative information or negative feedback to like kind of try to coach them to be better. And as soon as I start to see them like start getting like stressed out, I'm like, no. But it's like, and my boss is like, no, you should just leave it with the point that you're saying. But I just don't like people getting upset.
And I do inside sales, so I deal with people on the phone all day long. I'm just like feeling their emotions through the phone.
So, but yeah, go ahead and you were talking about the phone interview.
Yeah, because a lot of times we'll talk to them before, and then like we'll have more advance notice, but be able to pull that off. And so, I mean, the interview was great. Yeah. And then, because you never know what the people are like. And like you just said, that guy was on the Bob and Tom show and he just come on here. And that's awesome. Yeah. Like, he came on here and answered the questions, was really cool about it. You tell he sounded a little neurotic, which was awesome. Yeah.
I loved that he did give me like, hey, I just remembered I have to do this. So it kind of like helped us end it.
That's the hardest part.
Respectfully.
Yeah, when we had Concept on, and it's hard to end it, like, because you're just like, you're enjoying talking to him, but you're just like trying to find an ending point, because you're not like on a radio show. They go through like probably a list of breakdown, and they have their rundown sheet. Here it's like, we're tailing off. I'm like, oh, thanks for coming on. Talk to you later. Click.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, learning to direct the conversation is like important, but that was perfect.
I think we're getting better, and I also think you just continuing to do it, you'll get better. You're already not bad, so you're better than I was when I first started doing a podcast. So you're already ahead of the game.
Cool.
But once again, it is BJ Robbins at BJ Robbins at Smugcast Show. On Twitter at Smugcast _ on Instagram. What other stuff do you guys have coming down the line?
Just more. We're going to shoot some more stuff, and then we have more editing that we're going to be doing. And we started doing the little YouTube clips now of like segments of the show, like, and those recap. Are awesome. Yeah, I mean, AP, I just give him things and he creates it, and which is pretty cool. And then now when he did that on his own, we've done Facebook Live, and then when you were in there the other day, we recorded the whole show on that camera. And I really appreciate you like centering me right on this.
Yeah, because we did talk.
I took an extra dose of anxiety medicine.
The center guest. Eventually, I want to be where you're at. Yeah, and then I want my producer Tom, if he decides that he wants to do more of just lining guests up, and then he'll be like, kind of like, what is that? Is that still a producer? I guess if they just line guests up.
It's a booker.
They're
called bookers, yeah.
So basically, if he wants to do just that and not necessarily be on the show all the time, I do want somebody that knows how to run the soundboard, knows how to keep track of this, and can give us the information on the fly of how things are going, time, everything like that. I would like them to sit here. I can sit there, because technically I am the host, so I should probably be in the middle, and then just same position right there. But once again, Jen and I are not trying to have kids, so
there may be a crib in here next episode.
So this room that we're in now is
actually an outdoor show.
Yeah,
you guys are like going through the same stuff my roommates are. Like,
you guys were talking about the shed. That might be what's built outside.
What about the other guest room? Can we have the other guest room?
That's the number one plan. Plan B is a shed outside that I built into a sound studio.
It's awesome.
But
we're gonna have to wait till the cold months to move out there.
The last thing that I want to do is I just want to look at the Facebook Live comments real quick and see what you guys have said, to see if you guys can be mentioned on the podcast. If it's extremely inappropriate, then yeah, go ahead and bring it up.
All right.
But
the first one's from AP.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we got some feedback from AP.
And basically
said, "What's up, cocksuckers?"
Thanks, AP.
I think he was talking about you guys. So
it's not just you, Hannah.
I think it was to you. It was just really just AP and
all
me.
Right. I do like that. AP was a part of it. What's up, cocksuckers? I'm back. I wish I could read it in his voice. Thought of the day: anyone who decides to live in a tiny house is a fucking moron.
Hate them.
Just stayed in one for 4 days. Not a good move on my part. And he said, "What the fuck? Juice is smoking that shit again. Sounds like alien fighting ring. Ha ha ha."
I have the video. I'll show it to you on my phone. He gave me a video of the cabin they stayed in.
Yeah.
I'm 6'3". He's about, I think he's 5'9".
Yeah.
He might be taller, but
I think he might be close to 6 foot.
I'm just being a dick.
Because he's a little bit under me, and I'm 6'1".
And he had to be like this, like hunchback, to walk up at the top of the loft.
Fuck that.
And I was just like, because he went on a nice family vacation.
Yeah.
One day he'll be able to send his family away like I did, just spend time by yourself.
Jen and I already do some vacations away from each other. I'm getting ready to do a golf trip, so she might not be too happy about that. But
doing
this is a really great time to tell her.
She knows. She knows.
Okay.
She
do
knows
it
it's
now
happening.
before you have kids, because once you have kids, those little snot monsters, and then it's like, I'm hope you're having fun on your trip. Your son just blah blah blah, your daughter just blah blah blah, and you're just like, well, guys, this trip's done and over with.
Yep. Speaking of which, Hannah did get puked on today.
Yes, I did. My friend's baby upchucked all over me.
And you're doing good now. You look
Doing good.
You
Kind
changed.
of kills.
Change
out a little bit.
Change the
but,
color of your hair.
Yep, I did change it. It was time for a change.
But once again, we are doing a YouTube video after this, so go ahead and look at YouTube. I don't know what the link is. It's like it's weird. You can find it on Facebook. I've posted it a few times. You can always find the Juice in the Morning podcast on Twitter at Juice in the AM, Instagram as well at Juice in the AM. Crave Hannah on all social media. Thanks for being on again, BJ. I appreciate it.
Yes,
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
You added a lot. I swear. Last
Well, we
minute
got to
invite.
we just got to keep growing the show, all of our shows.
Yep.
Yeah,
'cause,
absolutely.
And we do need to, I honestly think with me working with the Pointless Discussions guys, you guys with the Smugcast, and then if we find a couple more people, we could even maybe think about doing our own network.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where we're
It's our own branding, really.
we're the
to
ones
each other.
pushing each other out there and selling ourselves to other people. So once again, thanks for being on, Hannah. Thanks for committing. I'm so happy that you did.
Committophobes here.
Same over here. That's why I've gotten over it. I've been committophobe free for 5 years.
I'm proud of you.
So, once again, thank you for listening to the episode. I loved having you guys, and we will talk to you guys next week. What do you do for your sign off, Hannah?
What?
What do you do with your sign off? What did you do last time?
Okay, bye.
Juice in the morning.